All right. Hello.
Hey everyone.
Welcome to Our Dinner is Done. If you haven't joined us before, I'm Sally.
I'm Jimmy.
If you have joined us before, welcome back. Tonight we are making fettuccine fried Diavolo with scallops. Let me just fix this camera just a bit. Just gonna scoot this back. Oh, no.
It's back on.
There we go. All right, that's better. Hi, Grace. Hi, Mark. See you in the chat. So, yes, we are going to be making a spicy marinara sauce for some fettuccine and scallops. This is actually the dish, if you've watched our stream before, you've heard us talk about this story probably once or twice. But we gave birth to our son in March. So he's actually...
You gave birth.
I gave birth, but we had our son in March. And he's actually 7 months old. And he turned 7 months just a couple days ago. So this is kind of timely for this meal. But this is the meal that Jimmy made me that we are pretty sure kickstarted my labor. So there's the old wives' tale that spicy food will get your labor going, and for us, we really think that's what happened because I ate this dish, and within 2 hours, my water broke.
Oh, yeah.
So we think that it's the truth. Some people might say that that's just a coincidence, but it was a pretty amazing coincidence if it was one.
Yeah.
I think that night, though, we did add shrimp to the dish. We did shrimp and scallops.
We did shrimp and scallops.
But tonight we have these really jumbo sea scallops, so we just figured that would be good enough on their own. So. Yeah, so he's going to show you how to make the sauce.
Yeah, so we're going to start with the sauce. Scallops cook tremendously fast, so we don't really need to worry about that. Mm-hmm. We have the heel of the Italian bread. That's for the baby if he gets out of line. So for the sauce, we're not going to do the traditional mirepoix where you would use onions, carrots, and celery, which you're more than welcome to use. If I'm making a big sauce, like a Sunday sauce, or if we're making the zuppa de pêche, like the cipollini, like the holiday meal, it's like a seafood marinara, then I'll do all three. It just takes a little longer to cook down.
And to
prep. It does add a nice another layer of flavor to it, but if we're making like an everyday sauce, not using a jar, but using canned tomatoes, in this case we're going to use crushed tomatoes, I'm usually just going to use onion and garlic. Yep. That's going to be more than enough. So we'll start with the onion. We're going to slice it in half. You have the hairy end here, hairy end, and then you have the long end. It's almost like a string. So you want to cut it along that end, so the hairy end is on 2 halves because that's what's going to hold your onion together.
Hi, Babs. And hello to anybody else in the chat.
So now we have those 2 hairy ends. Wasteful.
I forgot that. So this is just really going to have some onion, some garlic, crushed tomatoes, a little bit of salt, pepper, and the main ingredient to make it a fried Diavolo sauce is the crushed red pepper. And obviously you could control how much heat you want in this dish. But the night that I went into labor, it was pretty spicy.
It's pretty spicy, yeah. I like things rather spicy. I mean, you could always go crazy with like calabrian chilies, or you could do the Italian long peppers. A crushed red pepper is going to get you there, and it's kind of like a
fail safe. It's like
fail safe. What was I going to say? Like a pantry ingredient. Like it's something that you can find,
and you'll always kind of have.
You'll always kind of have. As you can see, we have the giant one, which is getting in there. We use it a lot. I put crushed red pepper in just about everything.
Was that from Liquidators?
No, it's McCormick. No. They would have had an off-brand.
We used to have this great store. Makes me sad just talking about it. But where we are, there was this awesome place called National Wholesale Liquidators, and it's a place that I frequented as a child. And it was like one of those places that you could pretty much find anything that you needed there. Like they had clothing, they had food, they had housewares, they had furniture.
They had just the year before they closed put in this awesome seafood section.
Yeah, and so they had...
And it was run like almost independent, so...
Yeah, it had its own like...
It was almost like a market within a market. Yeah, so there was a seafood counter, and you paid there separate than the other register, and it was always like delicious fresh seafood.
Really great
they were so
seafood.
nice there. You get a whole fish and they would fillet it for you for like a small fee.
But they had wonderful produce, and they also had like it was a world marketplace, so they had food from all over the place, and it was really great.
Yeah, they had different aisles based on the region.
Yep, and so we missed that place a lot. It closed last year.
You could find so many fun things. That was part of the adventure. Like you'd go in and you'd get a pair of sweatpants, and you would also get some unique olive oil, and you'd walk out with some bananas.
Yeah. I would go, and I have to say that I was probably...
We got a couch from there.
Yeah,
we got a couch was amazing. No,
one couch, but other pieces of furniture.
Yeah, but the couch there was amazing.
Our favorite couch.
Like $1,300 for that couch.
It was a great, huge
amazing.
section.
It only went because it had holes in it with the dogs, and it stunk. It stunk like dog. Yeah, it's funny, for those of you that have dogs, you're like, oh, you don't really smell your own dog in your house. But it got to the point where we could smell it on the couch, and then when I finally took it outside to throw it out, I could smell it outside. And I was like, wow, this is bad. And so now we keep sheets on top of our couch.
Yeah, now we have a new couch and we keep it covered with sheets. So if you have
a convertible, so we insured it. So if any of the pieces rip, which one of them is, but Sally's like, oh, let's replace it. I was like, no, let's wait till it's like fully ripped. It's not like ripped bad. One of the cushions, they're attached in the back, has like ripped. So he just keeps sewing it. I'm going to wait till it fully rips off. Then we'll replace it. It's a lifetime warranty.
True, that's true. But it's a great couch too, and we want it, this one we want it to last, so we have it covered with sheets. Oh no, how did that turn off? Oh. Well, he's gonna cook. There we go. You know what? We have these cords that have been very temperamental.
Yes. So like one of the cords. So we're using the cords to our iPhones and like the charging cord. Very temperamental. So like one of the cords I use to charge my phone at night. So I keep it plugged in because we keep the baby monitor on that phone, and I wake up in the night and my phone would be dead because it had lost the connection, so it was actually draining instead of charging. So I'm going to finish cutting this other half of the onion. So again, you have the hairy end, which you can see here. That part you want to leave intact. You're going to cut off the opposite end. Not too far because you don't want to lose too much of the onion. You don't want to have too much waste. But once you have that cut off, then you can peel the onion. So as you can see, I have the onion here. Hairy end on the opposite. And now I can just peel that layer of skin off.
Let me ask you, you're going to use the whole onion?
Oh, yeah, I'm using the whole onion.
So this is about, I would say, like a medium-sized onion. Yeah. And this is like a Vidalia or sweet onion. You could use whatever you have. If you prefer a white onion, that's fine. If you have red onion at home, you could do that too.
Don't use red onion.
I wouldn't use red onion. Yeah, I was just going to say, it has a different kind of flavor.
You want the white, the Vidalia, a yellow, you can even
You want more of like a mild onion.
Yeah.
Red onion has like a very distinct flavor.
Yeah, and I'd say red onion more for like a Latino
salads,
or like a Latino type of cooking. I would do a red onion there.
That's true.
Or for pickling, we love pickling.
Oh yeah, and pickling them. Also, I have a large pot on the stove right now that is turned on. It has about 4 to 6 quarts of water in it right now, and it is getting ready to boil. It takes a little while, so I started it already. And like we said, once we do this sauce and the scallops, like it's going to come together quick, so I just want that to be boiled up.
Yeah, really getting the sauce ready is the most important. So now I have my onion.
Like it adjusts.
Adjust, there we go. So I have my onion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it with, there's almost like these lines coming down the onion itself. Oh, I shouldn't have touched it.
It's okay.
It's my fault.
I don't know why. Sorry everyone. Don't know why it's doing that today. There we go.
I won't touch anything. So you have the onion going this way. There's actually like lines. I was trying to turn down the light so you can
see it a bit.
So you can kind of see these lines coming down. So I'm going to cut using those lines as a guide. And I'm going to make my slices. I want to make this pretty fine. So I'm going to cut, but not all the way through to the skin. I'm going to make my slices going to be about, I always do this old school. Use your finger, that's about an inch. So they're going to be about a half an inch wide. I don't know, is that how you learned how to do an inch? I'll never forget, like if you take your pointer finger and you bend it, that's about an inch.
Yeah.
Give or take.
I learned it that it was like the top of your pointer finger from like that first line up. I feel like
maybe I'm going a little over on my inch.
I don't know.
Give or take.
Yeah, give or take.
That's kind of everything in this kitchen is give or take.
Yeah, we're never really.
All right, so this is important. So now that I've sliced my onion going this one way, you can kind of see it. There we go. When I let it sit, So I've sliced it open, or I've done it in those slices following the grain of the onion. Now I'm going to place the onion down, place the palm of my hand on top, and I'm going to make 3 slices going up.
Mm-hmm.
And those 3 slices, after I come down, will allow me to get like a very nice fine dice. I think that's so important for a sauce because I don't want to have big chunks of onion. I want it to really cook down and almost liquefy into the sauce.
Yeah, and mellow out a bit.
So cutting it this small, and now when I slice coming back across, these cuts are going to be 1/4 of an inch or less. So they're going to be very fine. I'm going to use that claw technique. But when you're making a sauce, I feel like this is so important. A lot of times in this channel, I just kind of like buzz through this, but for a sauce, I don't know.
You're going to spend a little bit more time.
I guess it's the point of pride that I want to make sure.
And this is why I always make him do the onions because mine are never as uniform as this. He just has a different technique. I lack the technique. That's
well, I used to for years. I used to just cut up an onion and then I would just like kind of hack away at it and chop it up. And I mean, you could hack as well. This is just a little bit more efficient. I saw this. I want to say it was like Gordon Ramsay. I saw a video of him doing this. And the main reason is, once I'm done, you'll see in a second as I tear up, you don't
have much waste.
There's little to no waste.
Yeah.
So now that I've sliced down to the bottom, all I have left is this little tiny nub right here, which looks bigger in the picture, but when you compare it to a finger, that's all that's left. It's just the hairy end. So I really have no waste.
Nick has a good question. Hi, Nick. Thanks for joining us. He said, if your knife skills are not as sick as yours, would a food processor work?
Totally would work. That's actually a good call.
Yeah, that is a good, and it's kind of
It's very user friendly.
It's much faster.
Much faster. Slightly more cleanup, but yeah, that would totally get you to the dice. You just want to make sure you're monitoring it so it doesn't go too far.
Yeah, so it doesn't become just like a big pile of mush, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep, so you're going to cook down these onions with a little bit of olive oil. Would you like some butter for this as well? Or
I would. Okay. I always love to add a little butter. So that's a trick I learned recently. I add a little bit of butter to my onions. I just think that it lets them cook down a little bit softer, and you really get them to that translucent, almost like liquefied state.
And it gives it a nice little flavor, too.
It does definitely add a nice little flavor.
This is the new butter. This is just butter with olive oil and sea salt. It's already soft, too.
So this one I'm going to cut a little bit faster.
And what do you think? You did like about a tablespoon of the oil, about a tablespoon of butter?
Yeah, but I like to add the butter afterwards.
Okay. So I'm just going to set that over to
I don't know if it really matters.
You know what? I feel like I saw Alex Marcelli do that, where she added them towards the tail end. So we do that. Perfect. And what we're going to do now is we're going to throw these onions in here and let them cook down in the oil before we add the garlic. We've mentioned this time and time again, but you don't want to have the garlic and the olive oil together. The garlic and the onions together, because the onions take longer to cook. So you're going to throw those pieces of garlic in after you've had these onions cooking down for a while. Yeah. I mean, first, he doesn't have them chopped yet, but that's why. Not chopped yet.
I missed a bunch. I gotta get that scoop.
We do have
Babs,
one of those scoops.
there you go, stocking stuffer.
There we go, yes.
Babs always wants to buy stuff.
What do they call those too? They're called like,
I feel like
something scrapers or something.
Yeah, so it's almost like the size. So they just fell to the side.
Oh.
So it's like a long rectangle. It almost looks like a cleaver, but it's not meant to chop with. It's just meant to scoop with, and it just allows you to scoop up ingredients faster. There's probably a name for it. I don't know.
I forget. You know what? I happened to see it the other day on a cooking show, and they named it, and I forget what it is now.
So I'm going to salt and pepper these.
The onions. Mm-hmm. And your heat is on about medium right now?
About medium to low, actually, because I want to let these simmer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to give them time to cook down. And then we're actually going to have a little downtime, because this is actually all that needs to cook down now.
Okay. Yeah. So we can chat a little bit. This is going to take a little bit of time to cook down, so we can open up the chat right now, kind of ask some questions, or answer some questions if you have some. Tell us how you like to make sauce, if you like to make sauce with your pasta, what types of sauces you make. We're big on this type of sauce.
Yeah, we actually made one last night, kind of impromptu.
Yeah, we did. We made a vodka sauce last night. Well, we had he's a little upset because he didn't get to have any. But we had a vodka sauce last night because we had some leftover cream from our meal last week, and we decided
you have 7 days on it. So I was like, all right,
we gotta use it up. So we used some cream, some tomato sauce, a little bit of vodka, and some salt, pepper, garlic. You know the deal.
And then I had stopped at the farmer's market to get a loaf of bread, and I saw some just gorgeous shiitake mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
So I grabbed a couple of those, and so we had a meatless meal.
Yes, we had a meatless Monday meal, which was really tasty. And
Except it was Tuesday.
Oh yeah, sorry. It was Tuesday. This is what happens when you're at home in quarantine. I don't know when the days blend together, but anyway, it was a meatless day, and we have a ton left over actually. So
we should do meatless Mondays. I love alliteration. By the way, that's an author's craft using the same beginning sound.
Yeah.
Consonants back to back. Meatless Monday.
Meatless Monday. I mean, that's a big trend.
Doesn't it just have a nice, like, Taco Tuesday? That's alliteration. It's very popular. That's the technical term.
Yeah.
I've been going over it this week in school.
With your students this week. Yeah, so this is just kind of gonna wilt down and cool down a little bit. He's just gonna increase the heat just a little bit, just a touch. And we're going to use fettuccine with this. You could certainly use any type. I just feel like a long noodle kind of works better with the scallops. But a fettuccine, linguine, spaghetti, something like that would work. Oh, yes, exactly. I like a fettuccine with this. And we were talking about alliteration. So you have fettuccine fra. FF. Fettuccine fra Diavolo.
Yeah, you could use any noodle, but we tend to like a longer noodle, especially when we're doing seafood. We tend to gravitate towards a longer noodle.
Yeah,
I'm going to throw in my butter now.
I feel like the longer noodle, especially with the seafood, just kind of, I don't know, it's just a better pairing. When we eat things like sausage, I feel like rigatoni or something like that is good because the sausage pieces could get stuck inside. But this is already smelling very yummy. So while this starts to cook down, he's going to start preparing the garlic for this as well. But we're going to give this some time to kind of work out here. Uh-oh. I think somebody is calling for his Italian bread. So
bread?
He has been loving just kind of gnawing on some Italian bread.
So he had Italian bread. This weekend he had a bagel, which he
destroyed. And we are big on bagels in this family. Oh, love a good bagel. We were getting
I remember,
because
Nikki's here. One time we went to the best bagel spot that you could find, and we saw, it was good. It was like a New York style bagel place.
Where in LA?
Yeah. And it was like one of my first trips out there, and we saw a famous actor there.
Do you remember
Not Alan Arkin. It's the guy who does the impersonation of Alan Arkin.
He said SPK, salt, pepper, ketchup.
Salt, pepper, ketchup.
Who does the impersonation of Alan Arkin?
Yeah, what's his name? He's a comedian. I cannot remember his name.
Oh, wait a minute.
He was in the Usual Suspects.
I do know what he called him.
He called him. That's his big stand up.
Yes.
I cannot remember his name.
I can't remember his name either.
I feel like Mark would know. I don't know, Nikki, if you remember who it was.
He called him.
No. It's going to say Polk. No.
Oh, we're frozen here.
Frozen.
Oh, Kevin Pollak. Yes.
Kevin Pollak.
Thank you.
I feel like, is that who we saw, Nikki? I feel like that's who we saw.
Yeah. So you said Kevin Pollak. Yes. So you saw him at the bagel place? And the bagels were all right?
Yeah, not bad. Oh, I can't pound. That's why.
Is that what was happening?
Yeah. I'll get the roller.
That's so weird. It's a new cord. I don't know why it's being so strange, but okay. So again, this is what happens when you live stream. Sometimes there's technical difficulties. But we have 5 garlic cloves here. We usually use between 3 and 5. We usually use 5.
We say
I don't
3
know why
and 5.
I say 3. I do that really more for you.
Like garlic, we're always going to go 5.
Yeah. Is you better now? You like that bread? He's a fan. He has so many teeth now, too, so it's pretty incredible. But he's loving, all of his baby foods. Dad makes him his purees. So he's been having carrots and
He had sweet potatoes, he had squash.
What else? Pears, apples. He's had bananas, avocados.
Bananas he loves. Avocados he loves too. There's more coming today. From Mr. Box. Should be coming.
Yeah.
Because I ordered extra. So
Bagel nosh. Is that what it was called, Nick? So
I don't know if Peter's here, but maybe.
I know if Peter's here.
So is that? I don't know anywhere about any direction of LA. I know that you live in. I know where you live. I don't want to say where you live, but you live in in a suburb of LA. I don't know if that's near Pete, her brother.
I'm not sure. I think they live relatively close by to each other.
I know when Pete was out there and he had friends out.
Oh, he saw you ride.
He saw you.
Ride by.
You and Adrian go like buzzing by, like on bikes, like, and Nick had his hair down. It was flowing. He was like, "Oh, there's Jimmy's cousin going by," which is very, very SoCal, which I love. All right, so garlic. We used our garlic little roller. This is just knocks the skin off, and I'm a little lazy today. Instead of chopping this up, I am going to put it into our.
Hey, hope you're having a good Wednesday too. Oh yeah, this is just like so much easier. This garlic press thing, slicer
garlic
thing.
Slicer. So it basically gives the effect, gives you the Goodfellas effect.
Yeah,
of
nice
slicing
and
the
thin.
garlic with a razor blade. So.
Nice and thin. So they're starting to cook down. They need some time.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of time.
I can start to prep the scallops, which
And you know what? I'll open up this can of tomatoes and kind of get this started too. So this is a really simple sauce. It only takes a couple of ingredients, and we mentioned this when we talked a little bit about our honeymoon in Italy. What we learned there in a cooking class, we learned, and just by eating the cuisine there, we were there for 3 weeks. The way that they cook their food there is very minimalist.
Mm-hmm.
The fewer the ingredients, the better, really.
Yeah, the fewer the ingredients, I feel like the more Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't include like salt and pepper. That basically doesn't count.
You okay?
Baby is chowing down on bread. He's got teeth. Yeah, sweet in his mouth.
That piece is too big.
So you know you don't do that in CPR, but you sweep the mouth with your finger. So I feel like I'm always sticking my finger in there and sweep the mouth.
He's good.
Sweep the leg, Johnny.
Yeah, so we were saying that they're pretty minimalist with their cooking there, and the fewer the ingredients, the better.
It's like 5 is like the magic number.
Yeah.
So for this, it would be, like, I wouldn't count the salt and pepper. I wouldn't even count the olive oil. That's kind of like the side. But so it would be, scallops, onions, garlic, tomatoes.
And crushed red pepper.
Crushed red pepper. There's our
Yeah.
five.
Yep.
So scallops, I have these nice bay scallops all ready to go. They are wild caught. They were frozen first, so I put them in the fridge last night so they're fully thawed.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing when you're cooking scallops is to make sure that you are. Oh, I gotta get rid of that. I'll explain that in a sec. That they are nice and dry. So on a scallop, actually, there's also this muscle right here that's normally torn off. So there's this little muscle on the side. And that's actually what holds the scallop to the shell. So often that won't be there. As you can see, this one actually doesn't have it. But if you do see that muscle, you want to peel that off, because once you cook it, it's going to be a little bit tough. I'm just going to lay these out on a paper towel so that they can start to dry.
Mm-hmm. And you can even pat them dry, too.
Yeah, I am going to pat them dry next.
Yeah, you want them to be dry so that they can get that sear. If they're wet, they won't really sear up.
They won't sear, and they'll also, oil and water are not friends.
Yeah.
I miscounted when I put these out. You have an odd number, yeah.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay. So I would say that this is about, like, give or take a pound.
Give or take, I don't actually know.
Because we had a big frozen bag, but it was like a pound and a half. So I would say we have about a half
You
pound.
could order, like, if you were to go to a fish market and order scallops, and you could just give them a number. You don't have to say like
That's
count
true.
it. You can say, oh, I need 10. I'd say when you go to a restaurant, you usually average you get like 4 on a dish.
4, right?
Give or take 4 of this size. Not when it's the little baby scallops, but I'd say 4 is a normal portion. So 4 per person.
We actually we like frozen scallops too. We use them quite a bit in the house. You can find the like little baby scallops sometimes, the little tiny ones.
Baby scallops.
Or these, and I bet that's one of our.
It's either misfit or.
I bet it's our misfit order.
So our consummate security guard Hogan will let us know if something's coming. So I'm just patting these dry because I want to get all the moisture out of them. I'm not going to season them quite yet because, again, the scallops are going to be the last thing that I cook. But you want to pat them dry as best as you can. What was it?
Nothing. Just
Nothing.
Hogan barking at something, which is the usual. He just loves to bark. He's a pug and a beagle. A pug, so he loves to bark.
Barking is his favorite.
Especially as soon as the baby falls to sleep.
Yep.
For a nap. These onions are definitely looking better now and more translucent. So, you tell me if you want to add the garlic, and I can do that for you.
Let's see. Just another minute.
Okay. Once we add the tomato sauce and everything in there, then I'll throw in the pasta because this water is starting to boil. So, I kind of want to time it out.
Yeah.
Where it takes, oh, did you drop your bread? There you go. Here's your bread.
All right, I'm going to toss in this garlic. We'll slice in the garlic.
This thing is like a gem. I love using it.
So just so you can see what it looks like.
They come out so like paper thin. It's great.
Come out to these nice paper thin slices. You also avoid that garlic smell that you'll get on your hands. You chop it up. Although now I haven't because I touched it, but it was worth it for the demonstration.
Yep. So now we'll let the garlic and the onions kind of cook up together. Then we'll add the tomato sauce in.
You're gonna add the crushed red too.
Yes, the crushed red. Well, you did salt and pepper on the onions while you cook them, and then you'll add some more with the crushed red pepper, right?
Oh yeah. Oh.
Too much bread. Okay. Okay. We're done with your bread.
Where is the bread?
I have it. No.
Baby was loving that bread a little too much. So my garlic is in. I can smell it starting to cook up right away. I'm gonna add some crushed red pepper. So since it is fried Diavolo, this meaning
It actually means the devil's brother.
Devil's brother. So we're adding the devil's brother. So that's going to be 1 teaspoon. Devil's brother. 2 teaspoons. Just a touch more. Devil's brother is hot. Hot. Mix that up. I'm going to put a touch more olive oil in there just so the pepper and the garlic don't burn on the bottom. And this is only going to take about a minute or so to saute up. And then I'm going to be able to add my tomato sauce right on top. So I like to add the crushed red pepper now so that it can cook and release some of that flavor and heat. Again, you can always add a little bit more to taste, and you can always top your pasta with some crushed red. So if one person likes it hot and one person doesn't, you can add just a small amount to start, and then you can add a larger amount just on top of each person's dish, and that'll add a nice amount of heat.
Okay, so would you actually hand me that kosher salt?
Yep.
I am going to salt this boiling water. Like we say all the time, you want to salt this like the sea. This is where you can really give some flavor to the pasta. So you're going to put a decent amount in there. And And you want to wait until it's already boiling to do that because it slows down the boiling process. So if you do it at the beginning, it's just going to take a little bit longer to boil. So this is ready.
All right, so my garlic and onions is nice and cooked down. You can see I'm going to add my sauce just as it's starting to brown. If I was to let this go a little bit longer, my garlic would actually start to burn.
You don't
And
want
once
that.
you burn the garlic, you
have to start
lost.
again. Yeah.
You basically have to start over. You have to press reset. But that's it. So I have my fresh red,
Yeah.
fresh tomato.
And I'm going to add the fettuccine now.
Yeah.
So this is going to take, I would say, give or take about 8 minutes. Yeah. Fettuccine is a little bit thicker, so it might take slightly longer, but I'm going to check it out at around 8 minutes. And we're going to use the whole pound. When we cook in our house, we generally make the whole pound, and we'll have it either to give to, to have for the next day, or to give it to whoever is watching the baby while we stream.
Or maybe I'm really hungry. And,
Or maybe we're
we
hungry.
eat it all.
And we eat the whole thing in one sitting. It has been known to happen.
So a fun fact about pasta, though, if you are making it, let's say you're making it just for yourself. So everyone has this pasta tongue that you use to scoop out the pasta. If you ever noticed on the back of it, there's actually this little hole. So if you were to put the pasta into that, that's technically the portion for one.
For one serving? Or
That's
one person?
One person,
serving,
one,
yeah.
or one serving.
Mhm.
So if you were to put the pasta into it, so you would just place the pasta into that, and if you fill that up, that would be one serving.
And yes, Babs, it is from Pampered Chef. You got it for us. The garlic slicer. Okay. So this is just going to boil up in here and cook down. This sauce smells really yummy already. And we're just gonna let that simmer.
Let it simmer.
Do you bring it up to a boil first and then to a simmer, or you just let it
No,
ride
I'm
out?
just gonna let it ride out at like
Okay.
a medium.
Great.
It doesn't really need to come to a boil. It's just gonna heat through.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to keep stirring the sauce.
You don't want it
And
to
Mikey,
burn.
keep stirring the sauce.
Yeah. You don't want the bottom of the. You don't want it to get burnt at the bottom. That'll ruin the sauce.
Some people do add like sugar at this point. This is a small amount. It's only 1 can. If I was making a larger pot of sauce, I might consider it, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now.
Now, do you? I have read, and I don't remember. I should have looked this up before we started live streaming. But there is a way to tell the difference between a male and female scallop. I believe it has to do with the color.
There is. I
I
don't know
think
which
one
one
is
is
white
which.
and one is
One
like
white
orange.
and one is like an orangey,
Like
almost
pinkish
pink.
color. Yeah.
These all look to be the same sex.
Yeah, they all look the same. Anyway,
Kind of. I don't know. Unless those look.
those look a little pink. That one looks a little bit pinker there. I'm gonna have to look that up, or if somebody's on the chat, look it up for us and see how you know the difference between the scallops. But there is a way of telling the difference.
So these are nice and dry.
Perfect.
Now, as dry as they're gonna get. So seasoning wise, super simple. A little salt and a little pepper. So a little salt over to one side. The pepper you want to make sure if you have a grinder, you want to have it at its finest grind. The pepper is actually going to brown up the quickest and char. So you want to make sure it's the finest grind that you have available. What happened?
Looked wet over there, but I think I just gave the baby some water, so I think it just spilled.
Oh, okay. So a little salt and pepper on the one side. I'm going to flip them over and season the opposite as well.
Would you mind handing me? Oh, actually, your hands are dirty, so I will do that. Pasta stew. I'm just going to give the pasta a little bit of a stir because when you put these long noodles in, they kind of stick up at the top, and as they start to soften up a little bit, you can give them a stir so everything is under water and cooking evenly. There we go. Perfect. All right, tip, if you have a little baby, he has this little cup now that he is learning to use. It's called an Easy Peasy cup, and it is open, and you just fill it up to the top. I read today that you fill it up to the top in a smaller cup. It's actually easier for them to learn how to swallow, and he's been doing awesome, and we've been doing this just for like a couple of weeks, And he was able to drink all of his water this morning with breakfast. So it was very cool. It's amazing what they could do at this stage. Thank you, Anastasia. Anastasia looked it up for us. So she said the female are the ones that have that pink, orange tint.
Oh, okay.
So that is the way to tell the difference. So thank you for looking that up for us. I thought that's what it was, but I didn't want to give the wrong information. But it is cool. It's pretty cool. And we were watching Guy's Grocery Games the other night, and Antonia LaFossa was talking about how to tell the difference between the male and the female eggplants. And she was saying that the female had more seeds, right?
It was also the bottom.
And the bottom, like the part that's
So the
attached
bottom,
to the.
not the stem part, the bottom of it. You could tell the female was like round,
Mhm.
and the male was almost like oval. I guess you could say the male was more like phallic in shape, to
I
be
guess
quite honest.
so, yeah. All right, so this pasta's cooking. I have the timer on for about like 5 minutes, so I'll check at that point. And you're gonna want it to cook to just shy of al dente because we'll throw the pasta in this sauce, and it will give it a little bit more time to cook down too. Now, normally when you make a sauce, you add some of that pasta water, the starchy pasta water. Will you do that with this sauce
Yeah,
as
we'll
well?
still do that. I like to do it to all sauces.
Just it helps to kind of like thin it out a little bit, break it up. Spicy?
Not really. I could use more. But you tell me.
I'm going to tell you, I think it needs a little bit more.
I
We can add
try
a
to go
little bit more.
light, but-
It's out.
What's that?
Yep. We're going to add a little bit more. The night that you made it, the date like I went into labor, the night I went to labor, it was really
Really spicy?
it had a lot of heat, which is I think why I went into labor.
Actually, gonna add a touch more salt as well.
Yeah, and you're gonna use when we write up our recipes and we post them on Instagram, you're gonna see like I say this a lot where I'll say salt and pepper to taste. So it's really your personal preference. You're gonna be stirring your sauce. You're gonna take the spoon and you're gonna taste it and you're gonna go, you know what? This needs a little bit more salt or this needs a little bit more pepper. You'll know. Go a little bit on the lower end to start, and you could always kind of layer it in and add more flavor, but you don't want to oversalt something like that.
No,
it's harder to
coming
repair.
back from an oversalt. You could always add a little bit more.
All right, so this is going to have a little bit more heat now, obviously, with the crushed red pepper. And we were saying you can add Calabrian chilies or something else that you might have on hand, but I feel like crushed red pepper is a staple in every pantry. It should be in your pantry along with salt and pepper and garlic powder and onion powder and all that kind of like basic seasoning. And we use that pretty much as the base for everything that we cook. So
yeah, anything that's got spice, we're gonna use that as our base.
Yeah, so as this is cooking and simmering here, and as the pasta is cooking, we can start to prepare what's going to happen to the scallops. But the scallops cook very, very quickly. Scallops cook very, very quickly, so you don't really need a whole lot of time to do that.
No, not at all.
It's like shrimp in that way. They can go from undercooked to overcooked in like a split second.
Even less, I would say.
Yeah.
So I just slid my sauce over to the other side to get this pan ready. So what we're going to use... Oh, no.
I'm going to give you your cup. I have to stash it. You dropped it. You dropped it on the floor. Here you go. He's looking as if I filled it up with more water, but I don't want to give you too much water. So what's here?
So I'm actually going to get regular olive oil as opposed to extra virgin olive oil. Now, either one's going to work. You could use your extra virgin olive oil. We use it in everything else. But we happen, I just remembered this now, we happen to have just plain olive oil. And the reason I'm going to use this is olive oil has a higher smoke point or burning point than extra virgin olive oil. So since I'm going to be cooking it at high heat, I'm going to use the regular olive oil as opposed to extra virgin.
Okay. I did not know that.
Fun facts.
And flavor profile is just slightly different too. Obviously, the extra
Slightly
virgin
different.
is going to have a little bit more of a stronger flavor.
All right, so to this, I'm going to turn up my pan to medium to low. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then I'm going to add, just enough to coat the pan. You can see I'm just going to coat it before it gets too hot.
Fettuccine. It's pretty much ready too.
Cool. And then I'm going to add to that about a tablespoon of butter. So I want to do this at medium-low because butter is going to have some water in it. If I added it to a hotter pan, it's going to spit all over the place.
Yeah. Don't want that.
No, we don't want that. I'm done with this butter. I'm going to let that slowly come together.
Now, you said you are going to add some of this starchy water
To the sauce.
Mm-hmm. Do you, or normally we do like a quarter of a cup. Are you going to measure or you're just going to kind of eyeball it?
Whatever you prefer.
I'm actually going to give some of these fettuccine like actually kind of stuck together a little bit. So I'm just breaking them apart. I didn't do the best job stirring, I guess.
So as you can see, the butter is slowly melting. So I want to melt it slowly. I don't want it to turn to brown butter. Brown butter is just cooked butter. I just want it to melt and mix into a nice base to saute these scallops in. So after this is melted down, then I'm going to turn it up.
Did you drop it again?
Wow.
Here you go. You got it. So you can usually tell too with a noodle, with a long noodle, that it's kind of ready to where you want it to be when it flops over like that. So I'm just going to give it a taste. I put a good amount of salt in that water and you can taste it. So that's ready. Perfect. All right. So this pasta's ready to go. So would you like me to just pour the pasta right into the sauce, directly into the sauce?
Yeah. You want me to do that?
Yep. So he's just going to take this pasta, drain it, and put it into the, we have this pot here that has the strainer in it. You can't see that on the camera, but you could just lift it right out, and it'll strain, and you can kind of keep some of that starchy water, reserve some of that to put it into the sauce. Oh, it's going out, baby. Wow, are you watching Daddy? What's he doing? What's he doing? He has a look of amazement on his face right now. With what you just did, he was watching the steam come up. Like, wow.
All right, so now my butter and olive oil have mixed together nicely. Now I'm going to turn up my heat to medium high. I'm going to let this heat up just to the point where it's about to smoke, or where I start to see those first little bits of bubbles or ripples in the oil, and that's when I'm going to put my scallops in.
You're over the top.
So you want to actually watch it rather closely, and you can't see from the camera or hear me, but it's starting to bubble right now, and that's the point where I'm going to add my scallops, and I'm going to do them in order going around so that I know which way I'm going to move them as I'm adding my scallops. I don't want to crowd the pan, and I also don't want to move the scallops too much. So once I put them in, I'm not going to disturb them. I'm just going to let them sit and cook. So I'm going to go around the pan. And I'll put my last couple in the center. So they're going to take about 1.5 minutes on each side. And this you actually want to be pretty exact with. So 548. Because they are in danger of overcooking. There's no coming back from an overcooked scallop.
No, there isn't. They have a tendency that if you overcook them, they're going to be very like chewy, rubbery. You don't want that to happen. Oh, I think that's when somebody wanted to come out of his chair. He wanted to make burp. He had all that water. Are you trying to eat my hair? So those are looking good. Pasta's all ready to go now.
Yep.
I will get to the white.
I got it. It smells so good.
Dad said if you throw the pasta at the ceiling and it sticks, it cooks. But didn't we watch something that recently said that that's not true?
I don't know if it's an urban legend.
I think it's I think that's a fallacy. It was on one of the cooking shows. They were like, no, you don't have to do that.
We're at a minute.
We're about a minute with the scallops. Yep.
So again, I have not moved the scallops.
Mesmerized.
I'm about to turn them, so I'm going to give you just a quick peek. So you can see that they are nice and simmering. You can see the oil bubbling. I'm at that minute and a half now. I'm going to turn them in the order that I put them in. So starting with the one that I put in first and coming around. I'm actually going to let the rest of them sit because I noticed I didn't get quite the sear that I wanted to from the first two. So I'm going to let them actually sit for another couple of seconds. Now my butter and oil mixture is really simmering because you want to get that nice hard sear on the outside. That's probably the best part of a nice scallop. There we go. That one got a nice hard sear.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're starting to get it. So I may have just turned this slightly too early, but that's okay. They're not all going to have the same amount of sear. I'm actually going to pause again.
These are pretty thick.
They are pretty thick, and maybe I didn't quite have the heat turned up enough. But I feel like we're in a good place now. But you want to have that nice char on the outside. Because then you're going to get a difference in the texture from the char on the outside to that silky smooth center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want a scallop to feel kind of soft. Oh, yeah, Mark. He said, now I want scallops. A couple of years ago, for Christmas, I think, or for Christmas Eve, we did like 7 fishes, and Jimmy made some fabulous scallops that were like a big hit. Oh, there we go. Those are looking perfect now. Yum.
I'm going to pull these just to show you that these I let sit for just a slight bit more. They have that nice char on the brown. These I pulled a little bit too early. They're a little bit white.
Now, if you flip them over again, will they get that char on that
They
side?
could. So what I'll do is the ones that I flipped too early, I'm going to flip back over.
Mm-hmm.
They
And
smell so good. And
they really do.
the way you can tell if your seafood is good is when it's cooking, it smells delicious. It doesn't smell
Fishy.
fishy. What are you doing?
He's going to play that.
Oh.
Yeah, and this pasta is good. So once these cook up, we're going to plate that pasta.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do his beautiful twirl that he likes to do, and he'll plate it up all nice. And then you top the scallops. If you have like fresh parsley or something like that, if you want.
I'm not getting it.
No, it's rainy today. We would have gotten it from the garden, but if you have fresh parsley or basil or something like that, if you want to add that on top, you can. You could also add some Parmesan cheese if you want. Some people don't like Parmesan cheese with like seafood. It's really up to you.
Yeah, some people say it's a faux pas.
I kind of like
think
it.
it's really just a personal preference.
We kind of put Parmesan cheese on everything, but it looks pretty too.
Yeah.
Those are looking awesome.
All right, so I'm going to start to pull these. I'm just going to shake them off as I pull them out.
Now, you can absolutely make this sauce, the fried Diavolo sauce, and leave out the scallops if you want a vegetarian dish. Pasta with a nice spicy sauce is good on its own.
Mm-hmm.
They smell like really buttery.
They really do.
Mm.
And the scallop itself is going to be nice and buttery.
Flavor, yeah. It does on its own. So funny. So I put the baby in his playpen right now, and we have two of our dogs just standing on either side, or sitting on either side, just like watching and seeing his guard dog. Do you want scallops, don't you?
Really spitting. These last couple, I just want to get a nice char on them. We're just about there. There we go.
Oh, it smells so good. Are you going to do a pickup, Mark? You could pick up.
We're good to go.
Yes, he said he wants a takeout order.
Carry out.
You could certainly come scoop some up. Actually, we have all that vodka
These
pasta
actually
from
came out
yesterday,
perfect.
too. Those
Very
are
good with these.
perfectly brown and caramelized on
Gosh, they
top.
smell so
It
stinking
smells
good.
really good. We haven't had scallops in some time, so
We haven't had them
like I think honestly, was it?
since we were born, so 7
Oh
months.
my gosh! So yeah, the last time you made this dish, it was when I went into labor.
Yeah.
No kidding. I didn't realize that was the last time.
Yeah.
So this is exciting. He's going to plate this up real nice, do a little twirl with his fancy chef tweezers here. Looks good, smells good. And I will be sharing this recipe on our Instagram page later this evening. If you don't follow us there, please do so. I'm pretty sure that everybody in the chat already does, so thank you for doing that. But we'll share some photos and the recipe. And it didn't really take that long to do. This meal doesn't take a whole lot of time. Generally with a pasta sauce, you have people that will let them simmer all day, and you could certainly do that. But this is one that you could also just whip up pretty quickly. And the baby his mouth is watering right now. I can't wait to give him pasta soon enough.
Bless you.
Bless you, baby. He's like, ooh, that hot pepper.
We got him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you go to a restaurant, you're going to notice that when you get scallops, you're going to get like 3 or 4. They're so big and meaty. Like, they're not going to pile on
They're
the
also
dish.
expensive.
And they are. They are.
Kind of like a luxury item.
Baby's like, I want some scallops. Soon enough. It's amazing that you can give your babies so much.
There we go.
Oh, that looks great. It's steaming up the camera a bit, but you can see how beautiful that is, that nice, beautiful sear. So, there we go. You're just going to garnish it with a little bit more crushed red pepper on yours. Yep. Plated on, you did add some Parmesan cheese as well.
I did, yes.
Because we like that. But you could do what you want at home, some fresh basil or parsley or something like that, or a little bit of cheese. So that's what we have there. It looks like baby is approving of the dish. Oh, we have some dried parsley.
Dried parsley.
Yeah, it just gives a nice green color. Just makes it look pretty good. So there we go. There you have it. There's our dinner tonight. Our dinner is done. Fettuccine, fried Diavolo, scallops. Thank you for joining us again if you've been here before, and thank you for joining us if this is your first time. We are going to go eat now.
Mm-hmm.
We are hungry. So join us again on Friday evening. We stream Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So thanks again for joining us. We'll throw this up on our Instagram later tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.